hollow shaft is connected to the drive shaft by frictional engagement through the elastic constriction of the hollow shaft by the shrink ring. This shaft hub connection is totally free of backlash and when installed properly will also be wear-free. The shrink ring's self-centering tendency means it can transmit high torques and handle axial thrusts with great accuracy. The hollow shafts will have a compression slot on some gearbox sizes, depending on the shaft size and unit size. If the hollow shaft has a slot at the end of the shrink ring, the machine shaft must have a tolerance of ISO H9. If the hollow shaft does not have a slot at the end of the shrink ring, the machine shaft must have a tolerance of ISO H6. If a gearbox is equipped with the shrink ring, it is already installed on the hollow shaft and is ready to fit. The tapered surfaces and mounting bolt of the shrink ring are greased at the factory. The clamping bolts on the shrink ring must never be tightened before the unit is mounted on the machine shaft. Tightening these bolts prematurely will damage the inner ring and hollow shaft during assembly. Before placing the shrink ring reducer on the machine, degrease the machine shaft in the pressure area of the shrink ring. Remove the caps from the hollow shaft and shrink ring. Clean the shrink ring and support fit of the hollow shaft to remove any protective paint. The hollow shaft hole and machine shaft must be free of grease in the area where the shrink ring will be placed. Slide the gearbox onto the shaft. Do not use a hammer to force the unit onto the shaft. The shrink ring must be located as FS dimension from the end of the shaft on units with a slotted hollow shaft as listed in Table 1. Uniformly tighten the cap screws of the shrink ring in a rotating sequence. This will take several rotations. Tighten the screws about a quarter to half a turn each rotation. Do this until all the screws are tightened. The final tightening should be done with a torque wrench to the torque shown on the installation sheet. When the tightening is completed, the space between each shrink ring must be absolutely equal distance from one another. Measure the distance at several locations to ensure the spacing is correct. Covers or protective devices must be mounted correctly before starting the drive. Remove the covers on the shrink ring. Loosen the screws of the shrink ring in several turns. It will take more than one rotation to loosen the screws in order to prevent misalignment and damage to the ring. Do not unscrew the screws completely from the tapped holes. The shrink ring could spring off and cause injury. Once the shrink rings and screws have been loosened, the pressure which is normally between the hollow shaft and machine shaft should be released. If necessary, remove the shrink ring and put the snap ring into the groove to pull the gearbox off the machine shaft. If the shrink ring has to be cleaned, the screws and conical surface must be re-lubricated afterwards using an MOS2-based grease before reinstalling.